Hello, everyone. Um, Today we shall be continuing in our lecture series of statistics for undergraduates by exploring the fifth. And as usual, I will pilot the lecture, Roslyn Oluiton, and we shall look at how figures can be transformed into visual forms to explore, to make or give better meaning to a set of data. Um, you will recall that last week we explored the types of variables available, looks at the ordinand and all the types of variable that we have available, what are their forms and their uses, and we tried to tabulate the data that we had, and we now um, arrange them in what we call an ordered array. And after the arrangement, we generated a frequency table. And from the frequency table, we ended up with the numerical summarization of the entire data. So in essence, we generated a data from figures that either two were scattered and not arranged in any form. But today, we shall now continue in the process of the data generation to how to present this data in visual forms. This method is used to present data, either raw data or even secondary data, in pictorial and graphical forms. And when you present the data in pictorial and in graphical forms, it is able to convey meaning to the reader or the person making use of a data in a way that is better and richer than the hitherto raw data. You will agree with me that having the data in graphs, in charts, and other pictorial forms will help. It gives easier interpretation of data as the figures are transformed from numerical forms into visual forms. And the method is very, very useful as it is a method that can be used for preliminary analysis before um, the normal analytical method that is used to interpret um, research data. So it could be used as a preliminary method, and it will not give you what we term preliminary interpretation of the data. So it is more or less used as a background study for a data, and from there you will be able to know how best to what method is best to further use to explore a particular set of data. Now, what are learning objectives for this particular um, lecture that we are into? We will look at what we call the similarities and the differences that are available in presenting pie charts, line charts, and bar charts. We will be able to know how to choose the most effective visual format that is good in presenting your data. You will know how to prepare a pie chart, a line chart, and a bar chart. And from there, you can make inferences about the charts and the graphs that you have drawn. So what are the various types of presentations that we have available? For the purpose of this study, it is not limited to what we are discussing in this lecture series, but the basic ones, we are going to discuss them. And these are charts, graphs, and pictorial representation or other visual forms of presenting data. So for charts, we will be looking at bar charts and pie charts. Bar charts, we have the simple charts, we have the stacked charts, and we have the multiple charts. All these we will see in the course of the data. And the pie chart also is a chart that uses degrees to represent data. It is multicolored, and the fact that it uses a variety of colors makes it appealing to readers and those who make use of that form of. Now we will use data of some sales executives, sales marketing executives over 6 weeks um, um, to explain the concept of charts. And the number in each team varies from 4 to 10 over the 6 weeks period, and the sales generated varies from 18,000 to 60,000 over the 6 week period. So the sales generated is now being presented in a clustered column charts, and you will see that in the first week, where there are four persons that made up the team, they generated 18,000. In the second week, that had 6 people in the team, they generated 28,000. In the third week of 6 persons, they generated 32,000. And in the fourth week of 8 persons, they generated 27,000. In the fifth week of 8 persons, they generated 40,000. And in the sixth week of 10 persons, they generated 60,000. If you look at it critically, from even the layman's perspective, you will see that the sixth week of 10 persons happens to be the best week, while the first week of 4 persons is actually the poorest. You could explain this on the concept of experience as being very, very useful in assisting the team members in generating the sales income. And going a bit further, you'll see that the y-axis starts at 0. The difference between the rectangles is the same thing, and the gaps between the bars is equally the same because it is explaining data that is generating on weekly basis. And a bar chart could be vertical or horizontal. What we have looked at in our previous slide is a vertical bar chart. Of course, we will still see a horizontal bar chart, but we have looked at the trend. The trend of the data is 1 week. That is why the gap between the rectangles is equal, and the rectangles, the width of the rectangle is similar, except that the height of the rectangle differs, which tells you in form of the volume of sales that they were able to generate. As I've said before, this is a typical example of a horizontal bar chart. Still explaining the weekly sales data, you will see that although this chart is not showing the number in a team, but looking at it, you will be able to see that the week 6 is about the best week with about 60,000. So the explanation of the vertical charts suffice for the horizontal charts. I will also try to present another data on three African countries, three giant African countries, namely Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa. And we look at the income level of these countries over a period of 4 years, 89, 1990, 1991, 1992. These figures are actually presented in billions, I think, in billions. So you will see 56 billion, 65 billion, 62 billion, 64 billion for Nigeria, 42, 40, 52, and 60 for Ghana, 46, 56, 58, and 65 for South Africa. This is purely hypothetical in nature. So this type of data again could be used to explain data. We could use a bar chart to explain it, and we can also use a line chart. I will be using a line chart to explain, and also we can use a columnar bar chart. So in this case, the data which we've looked at previously, we are now presenting it in a cluster bar chart. It's now putting the three countries together, and if we look at it, we will see that the marginal increase of Nigeria over the years is the poorest. Nigeria started as the highest country, but by the fourth year, all the three countries are almost at par. So, which means that Ghana has actually improved from the lowest level, though it's still lowest here, but the rate of improvement has been very, very significant. Equally, South Africa has also started as the second country in the group of three, and it's now maintaining the lead here, while Nigeria, with the highest in 1989, is now the second by 1992. So, looking at the data, you could easily draw a trend of these countries using the clustered charts. But by and large, you will see that all the charts which I have been talking about, they have what we call the heading, the title. They all have the axis, title, and they have the title and a key. This is very important. The same with the income level of African countries. I'm trying to present it as a stacked bar chart. And if you look at it, similar to explanation with the previous chart, you'll see that the rate of increase of blue is very, very marginal. The orange one is increasing significantly, so also the ash one, which means that Ghana has had the highest marginal increase, followed by South Africa, while Nigeria, which is maintaining the lead hitherto, is having the lowest marginal increase over the period of time. Now we go to pie charts. Pie charts is a form of a pictorial representation that uses simple data to emphasize differences and similarities. It presents a share of each data in a circumference of 360, and it makes use of a variety of color combination, which makes the chart attractive to learners and to viewers alike. And if you look at it, to generate a pie chart, in our next slide, I will bring up the weekly sales data, and you will see you have to convert all your data to degrees, and the full size of a circle is 360. So you will add all the values in the data together, And you now pick each value as a percentage of the total value and multiply by 360 degrees. So for this chart, you add, for a pie chart, you add 18,000 to 28,000. That should give us 46 to 20 to 32,000, to 27,000 to 40,000, and to 60,000. And if you attempt to now draw this, it will now come out as a percentage of the 360 degrees. And this is a typical example of a pie chart. It's very easy to draw this, because if you use your Excel sheet, and you put the data which we have looked at in a previous slide there, and you go into charts and you pick a pie chart, after highlighting the data, you will eventually come up with something of this nature, and you will see it as giving us a key to the pie chart. The week 1 is represented by the light blue, which is where I have the console now of 18,000. Week 2 from the key is represented by the orange, which is 28,000. Week 3 is represented by the ash, which is represented by 32,000. Week 4 is represented by yellow, which is represented by 27,000. Week 5 is represented by the darker blue, and which is represented by 40,000. And week 6 is represented by green, which is represented by 60,000. So we have a typical pie chart. So like I've said before, go to an Excel sheet, pick the data we have in a previous slide, put it on an Excel sheet, and highlight the data, go into charts, pick all the charts, click on all the charts, and click on pie charts. And by the time you do that, it will come up with different types of pie charts, and you can pick the one you like. Similarly, for the previous charts that we have examined, the clustered, the columnar, the stacked charts, you go into charts, click on all charts, and pick a bar chart or a line chart, whichever one you want to do, even a histogram, and it will give it to you the way you want it. But you have to make sure that you give the chart or the graph a title. You will see a console by the right side of your chart. If you click on that console, it will give you, it will lead you to a platform that will ask for whether you want to edit or you want to add information. So if you go there, the first platform, you will be able to add titles. Once you click on that, you're able to add the title and the axis title and every other thing you want to use to format your graph. And that will give you a very, very rich and information carrying charts for you to make use of. So having said that, we go into graphs. We have the scatter graphs and we have what we call the line graphs. The data that we have used in explaining our previous charts is what will be used in this particular explanation. The first one will be a scatter graph. And if you look at this one, I'm using the income level of African countries. You see the axis, the Y and the X axis, they all have their titles. There is title for the African country, which is tagged income level of some African countries. It's giving you the key, which is Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa. And you have it there. So it's easy for you to know how each one of them is positioned in the scatter plot. This again could be done in another way, also a scatter plot, which I will present to you here. For the volume of weekly sales, this is a typical scatter plot that can be used. And like I always emphasize, there must be title, there must be the axis title, and key when need be. But this is a scatter plot that's already giving us a trend. And also, these two data will be presented in line formats. And that is where we'll be going into a line graph. You can use a line graph to illustrate data in two situations. It tells us of a trend over a period of time. And then you can also use a line graph to compare two or more sets of data. But for more than one set of data, the line graph is much more effective than a bar chart. That's what we're looking at here. So in this particular situation, we have this line graph that is explaining the three African countries: Nigeria, South Africa in ash, and Ghana in orange. And if you look at it, you'll see with what we've been explaining that the rate of increase of Ghana has been the highest, followed by South Africa, and Nigeria maintaining the lowest marginal increase. And the same situation for the weekly sales is presented in a line graph here, which we can see. But by and large, very, very important to make sure that the title is there, the axis title is there, and the y-axis must start from 0, like you've seen in all the graphs that we have successfully looked at. What are the essential things to consider here? You'll see that all graphs must have a common structure. They must have a content, they must have a framework. There must be appropriate labeling, such as the title, the axis label, and the legend. Very, very important. There must be the framework that must tell us the type of measurement that you are using. The y-axis is the vertical one, and it talks of the dependent variable. The x-axis will more or less represent the independent variable. This will be much more useful when you are looking at data in respect of your final thesis, where you can chart them to give you the background information prior to the analysis that you want to conduct. Either you want to do the ordinary least square method or the ECM, whatever method you want to use to further analyze the data. But in the chart that we're looking at, you cannot mix two charts together. It's good to separate. You cannot put a bar chart and a line chart together on the same platform. The two must be separate. The dates must be in ascending order. And where you have positive and negative values, you must know that the positive values will be to the right side and the negative values must be to the left side. Which means if you arrange them in ascending order, it will surely fall into. Yeah, what have we been talking about? We have in this lecture studied how to present data in pictorial form using raw or secondary data. And the pictorial forms we have actually considered charts. We have done clustered, we have done stacked, we have done pie charts, and we have looked at graphs also, line graphs, and we have also looked at scattered plots. So you will agree with me that in the course of this presentation, you taking cognizance of the methods that we have used, uh, it is very, very easy to interpret the data or do what we call a preliminary analysis of the data. Therefore, the tool or the method we have adopted in this lecture is a very, very handy one that you can apply anytime to give a basic interpretation, or even when you are writing your thesis, the data you want to look at, you could conduct a preliminary investigation of the data, making use of the pie charts or the bar charts or the line chart or even the scatter plots. This is very, very good, and you can make use of it at any point in time. Am I hearing somebody that it could even be useful to explain uh, core uh, data or concepts? Um, uh, I tend to agree with you, because sometimes when we go into core analysis, the summary or the results we get from even core analysis, we still use this method to chart it to give better or deeper interpretation to what we are seeing on the surface. So this tool is not limited, and it is very, very useful, critically useful in research. And as students of finance, you will find it very, 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 very useful over time. Um, like we've always been doing, we will have something to work on that will aid us to further explore what we've taught today and confirm our thorough understanding of the lecture. So our weekly test will require us to generate a data, and you will chart it using all the formats that we have discussed in this lecture. I would need you to use at least 3 types of bar charts, 2 types of line graphs, and a pie chart to explain the data, making 6. Again, 3 types of bar charts, 2 types of line graph, and a pie chart. And as you generate or chart or get your charts, we want you to provide a simple analysis of what does that chart try to say, or what meaning is it trying to convey to you. And the test has to be submitted online before the next lecture. I believe you have understood what we've done today, and I wish you the very best of the week ahead of you. Thank you very much. Bye for now. Bye.